Welcome to Fat Man. I'm Batman. I'm Kevin Smith.
I am Marc Bernardin.
Hey! Oh shit, we're ready to do this, folks. Thanks for coming out and being here with us as always at the Scum Villainy Cantina on Hollywood Boulevard, right here in the heart of Hollywood. Put your hands together so the folks at home know you're real. How are you, sir?
I'm great, man. How are you?
So good. I had a very Hollywoody type day, but I know you got a story. You got a story to tell.
No, I'm curious about your Hollywoody type day. We get to my story later.
Really?
Yeah. You go first.
I did. I was just telling Marc right before we came out. I was like, I had such a fucking Hollywoody type day. Like, I went to 2 meetings today. One was a pitch for a project that I would just be a director on. Wonderful project, wonderful script by a tried and true talent. And I went in with a producer who's also like made a zillion fucking things, movies that have made hundreds of millions of dollars. And we went to Netflix, the new Netflix place. Mm-hmm. And everyone's always like, you should do shit with Netflix, including me. I say the same fucking thing. As if it was that simple. But it's massive. Like I've not been there for a pitch in a while. I pitched there like I was telling the people I went in with today. I was like, they were like, have you ever gone to Netflix? I said, yeah, 4 times this year, I think. And they were like, really? And I detailed each time. And I said, and each time, man, they're always so nice, but they don't fucking buy from me at least. So, I don't know. I said, it's weird too, because I know Ted, the guy that runs the joint, and I see him like every time I've gone into pitch, he'll pop through the lobby, and he's like, oh shit, Kev, what are you doing? We sit there and chit chat. And then he's like, what are you bringing? And I say this. He's like, oh, I hope we buy it. And they never do. So I told the folks I was with today, I was like, as long as we don't run into Ted in the lobby, we might have a shot, man.
Because he could just buy it. I hope we buy it. No, you're fucking Santa Claus. You can deliver if you want. Hope the elves make more toys for you. No, fuck you. Buy it.
I guess I don't have that kind of relationship to just be like, you fucking buy it, Ted. It never occurred to me to try that approach. So we go to Netflix, which used to be over in Beverly Hills, but now is like
Los Feliz, right?
Yeah,
around
like
the border.
even more insultingly, it used to be like you drive nearly an hour, get there, and they'd be like, no. And then you drive an hour home. Now it's like 3 blocks from my house to get rejected quick. You go there and you realize like, oh shit, like this is what they do with all our money. It's massive. The lobby you walk into is like a giant video wall that surrounds the room. So like when I walked in, it was an advertisement for, what's the show they do about The Crown, is it?
Yeah.
So you walked into Buckingham Palace and there were 2 dogs on this video wall. It was fucking nuts. It was impressive. And then as they took us up to the meeting, like at one point we were waiting on one floor, and then when we went up to the meeting floor, every floor had a lunchroom, and everyone was eating. And I was like, I missed my calling. Wow. Like, I should have worked at Netflix, man. Like, my God. So we went up, we had our pitch, and it's weird. I've been in this business for like almost 25 years it's coming up on. And that place like makes me feel small and scared. They don't try. They're not intimidating on purpose. But it's just like, I don't know. For some reason, I go in there, I lose all of my nerve. I forget who the fuck I am and what I've done. And any confidence I have goes out the fucking door. It's crazy. So, the people that I was going to pitch with, they're like, how are you? I'm like, oh, I'm great in a room. And I wasn't at all. Like, I don't know that I was helpful in the pitch at all and shit. So I left, and when I left, I was like, fuck, man. Like, maybe I'm over. Like, maybe I missed it. Like, I was going to say the facts, but that would mean I'm definitely fucking over if I'm referring to fucking facts. But maybe I missed the email or the memo that my shit just don't play anymore. And it's weird because I'm like, yeah, but I go out on tour all the time and like we have sold out houses and shit. But maybe just in this business, like that's it. So I was driving around after the Netflix meeting, just going like, well, it was fun while it lasted. Like, you had a real good run and shit like that. And like, you got to star in a movie, a couple of them and shit. If it ends, if it's over, it's fucking done. Then I went to another meeting in the afternoon with people that want to make Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which is the movie we're going to make in the spring. And it was like 180 degrees from that. And I'm not saying like Netflix, they weren't mean to us or anything like that. But the vibe there is just like, look at this. Do you think we need you? You know? But the second meeting I went to, they're like, oh, we couldn't do this without you. And like, oh, your voice is original and shit like that. And I don't know. It was weird. I went to a low and then back to, I wouldn't even say a high, but back to a fairly decent place in the span of like 2 hours. So then later on this evening, I was dropping my kid off. She was going to an acting class. And she was like, how was your day? And, you know, it's a 5-minute ride, and I fucking ladled her with a 12-minute story. You know, so we pull up in front of the place, and I'm still talking and shit like that. And so I'm like, you know, it's just weird. Like, I picked, like, for a career, a business where rejection is a part of the process. Like, it's more rejection than acceptance. I said, and that's why, like, I've always gone indie, because you don't have to wait for permission or have somebody bless you, or you don't feel like you're going hat in hand because you're doing your own thing. So, you know, my daughter's like, you realize I'm about to go to an acting class? I said, yeah. She goes, I know a fucking thing or two about rejection. And she left. So it put it in perspective for me, man. And also as I drove back from dropping her off, I'm like, God, like, you sound like such a baby. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, as I sat there talking to her about it, I'm sure she was just like, which one of us is the fucking child here? But that was my weird Hollywood day. I went to both ends of the fucking spectrum. One where, and again, they weren't like, you suck. I just felt like so out of place. I felt like, wow, the world has truly passed me by. My only real interaction with this company will forever be me paying for it every month to watch Netflix. So, like, that's our relationship. You know, you give us money. Goodbye.
But see, that's where you went wrong.
Why?
You have the power. When they ask, who the hell do you think you are? You say, I am a subscriber, sir. You work for me. My money makes all this possible. Bring me a bottle of water, the biggest one you have.
That is the approach I should be taking, where I'm like, don't I pay your salary? Take my show. What did you do today? What was your day?
I went to a food court in a mall by my house because I like to write in places where there's enough white noise that it kind of helps create this little like pocket of just static.
Right.
And I could go to food court because.
So based on this, if you write well with white noise, then you could write a fucking bestseller at a Justin Bieber concert. Thank you.
Well done.
Maybe that's why the business is done with me.
The Bieber jokes.
Bieber jokes.
So I was walking through the mall, and I passed by this black dude who was walking the other way. And you're familiar with the nod, right? You understand how the nod works? So the nod is the thing when two black people who have never met each other before are passing each other anywhere, walking, hallway, office, whatever. You just give a little, just a nod. He will nod back, move on your day. And my wife asked me once, she's like, what's the nod all about? She's Irish. And I'm like, it is the silent acknowledgement of shared struggle, is what that is. Or it is, in case the fucking race war breaks out, I got you. However you'd like to interpret those two.
So it's kind of like aloha. It has two different meanings.
It's like, yeah, I see you. It's good. And so I'm walking in this mall, right? And this guy comes, instead of the nod, he goes, Black Panther's in a month, yo. Literally, swear to God, never met this guy in my entire life. His greeting to me was, Black Panther's in a month, yo. And I was like, you're fucking right, it is. And then just smiles galore for the rest of the fucking day. Because that is now the new what's up, Black Panther's in a month, yo. And I honestly don't think that anybody's ready for how much money this movie is going to make.
They're already talking about how the pre-sales are beyond Civil War at this point.
Are higher than any other Marvel movie. It's going to do that thing that Wonder Woman did, which was, you know, and I'm not even just saying that only women went to go see Wonder Woman, although even if they did, it would still make $800 million because there's more women than men, and that's how that works. But if every black person goes to see Black Panther 9 times, and we will because we're all taking a month off, and if they all take their mom, their brother, their sister, their uncle, everybody they've ever met to go see Black Panther 8 times because we're all taking the month off, this movie makes like $1 billion. It just does. because it's this weird social movement where it's a moment that nobody quite could have predicted, except for Marvel because they bankrolled it because they know more than I do. But fuck, man, February, I am not prepared. Nobody's prepared.
They've been trying, though, to make the movie for a while, to be fair. Like, going back for a while.
But, like, we were not prepared when Luke Cage broke Netflix. I don't think we're going to be prepared when Black Panther breaks movies.
Amen.
But that was my weird fucking day where I realized that there's now a new greeting on the street.
Do you think that dude recognized you as like, oh, that's the guy that talks about shit like this?
I don't think so, only because when that does happen, and it happens increasingly rarely, I was like, yo, dig the show. That I always get some like, man, I love Fat Man. Cool, that's awesome, man. Thank you for stopping by. It was just, Black Panther's in a month, yo. That's it. I'm looking forward to the public countdowns I'm going to get of Black Panther. Black Panther's in 28 days, yo. Black Panther's in 128 hours, yo. Motherfuckers doing math.
Today when I was pulling onto the Netflix lot, the dude, I went to roll my window down, give him my license, and he goes, where are you going, Mr. Smith? And I said, oh, hi. I said, I'm going to Netflix. And then I was with somebody else, so he asked for his license. So as the guy's punching my name in, he goes, can I ask you a question? And I said, yeah. He goes, what'd you think of Justice League? And then we got into this like mini conversation about it. And then as I pulled onto the lot, the guy I was with, he's from, I don't even know why it's Mitch Albom, the guy that wrote Tuesdays with Maury, and he's a sports reporter from Detroit. So he's just like, oh my God, what a difference. He's like, when I'm in Detroit, like wherever you stop, people are like, let me ask you this, man. How are the Red Wings doing this year? How are they going to do? How are they going to do? He's like, but in this town, people literally stop others and say, what did you think of Justice League? And I was like, that might be because of the podcast, you know, and also I'm known to kind of like and comment on that stuff. But that happens wherever I go now. People don't talk to me about my shit anymore. They're always just like, what'd you think of Justice League? You know, and like TSA agents all the time. As they're patting me down, they're just like, what'd you think of Thor? And I was like, you know, I don't know. Is as exciting as this pat down? It's nice, though, that there's that common language. Used to be secret language. When me and Marc were younger, there weren't that many. People weren't as public with letting their geek flag fly.
Nah, there was a lot of closeted nerds, but there was a lot of just, what are you doing? Not reading comics. What are you really doing? Not reading comics, I swear. But now, what are you doing? Reading comics, yo.
Now there's not even that. Now it's just like Black Panther, 30 days, be there.
Are you ready? What you gonna wear? There was literally a meme online, just like, what are you wearing to the Black Panther opening night?
What are you wearing?
I gotta see if my dad has an old dashiki left. I can rock. I figure I will be blacker than I've ever been on February 15th.
I've also started planning my wardrobe. I'll be wearing a hockey jersey. All right, man. We got news to talk about?
We do have some news. You know what premiered tonight? 1 month from Black Panther? Black Lightning.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
What,
it did.
after Flash on CW?
After Flash on the CW. I suppose I can't ask if anybody's seen it because you're all fucking here. So I saw the pilot.
Ooh.
I did.
Now, here, this was a sneaking suspicion I had. You can confirm it or deny it.
Go.
And I'm probably way off. What I got from the marketing campaign was we're trying to hide the fact that Black Lightning is really going to be the girls. It's not going to be this man the whole time. It's going to begin with him, but it's more going to be shifted on to them. Because it was very weird to see CW have a leading character who looked like he wasn't 18.
No, he's an old man.
Yeah, he's like in his fucking 40s.
And 40s is old man for CW.
Yeah, huge.
The show, it's absolutely setting up his daughters, Anissa and Jennifer, who in the comics are Thunder and Lightning, I believe. Is that how that works out? Who have fucking superpowers because, of course, their dad is a superhero. That's the way comic books work. But it's not there yet.
Okay.
A lot of it is about daughters rebelling against a father who was a principal of the school they went to, whose father is very much invested in not allowing the special to flourish in his house because the special gets you in trouble.
Right? I was a superhero once.
Right. It is like, what if Luke Cage was a principal in a high school? And Luke Cage, if you remember, half of that show was about recalcitrance. It was about not willing to be the hero that you knew your neighborhood needed. Right. It was about a dude not answering the call.
Yeah, it's true. I hadn't thought about that. Yes.
And so much of, at least the pilot of Black Lightning, I almost said Black Panther because it's so easy. The pilot of Black Lightning is Jefferson Pierce refusing to be Black Lightning until bad shit happens to his kids and he's got to strap on the guns one last time in the dumbest costume I've ever seen. He looks like a VW bug from a Pixar movie. Like, there's just weird fucking day-glow lightning stripes and shit, and it lights up like it's do you remember The Running Man, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie?
Yes.
When he fights Dynamo, that the Russian like opera singer who's got the fucking lightning bolts and all of that shit? It is only a little bit better than that. I'm hoping this was like Mark 1 on the Black Lightning outfit test.
Right.
But it is a show that is attempting to be socially relevant in a way that CW shows usually aren't. Like, it is very directly addressing things like driving while black. It's directly addressing things like guns and gangs and schools and how all of those things sort of collide and collude to make for dangerous environments. It's very much dealing with police involvement in that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I just saw the pilot, but I think it's kind of strong.
Yeah?
Yeah. I would watch more.
Is it, does he stick around, or do you think it shifts to them? Because he is way outside their audience demographic.
He is. I think he sticks around. I think there's a world in which he becomes old Batman to his daughters, who will then be the heroes. Every now and again, he will strap on the guns.
That's the impression I got when I watched the first trailer. No, I think they're going to play a more central role in the show.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be over time. I don't think you see that in the first season, but
really?
Maybe, yeah. I think they still want to establish that whole thing. Like, make it work, make it fly, and then change it.
I watched Supergirl last night. Supergirl came back from the mid-season hiatus, and it was dope. They did the Legion of Superheroes, who are a variation of the Legion of Superheroes. They had Mon-El, they had Saturn Girl, and they had Brainiac 5. And they all put on their rings at one point, and they all fought. And there was actually a really sweet piece. One of the writers was Eric, who had written the episodes that I did up at Supergirl. And there was this piece in there where they were, they're from the future. And how they're playing the League is that Mon-El was on the show last season. And then she had to get him off the planet. Kara, Supergirl, had to get Mon-El off the planet because a lead bomb had gone off, and he's a Daxamite, and that's what would kill a Daxamite. So even though they loved each other, she put him into her pod that she had come to Earth in and set him off to get as far away from the Earth as possible so he can breathe and live and stuff. He wound up going through a black hole and got lost, and she'd been waiting for him. He still hasn't returned. And then episode 3 or 4 of this season, or 5 or 6 or something like that, they revealed that there was a ship under National City, and that ship was the Legion ship. And in the story, like, he went through a wormhole, wound up in the 30th century or whatever the fuck, meets all these kids and tells them the stories of the superhero, the person who like trained him to be a hero, which is Supergirl. So they come together. It's a variation of the Legion of Superheroes. They all looked up to Superman, but they've kind of retconned it for Supergirl. It's really sweet. So in this episode, they know what happens in the future, but they can't get involved in the present. They're in the middle of a fight. They had frozen themselves under National City because they got lost in time. But they're like, if we go into hypersleep for 5,000 years, we'll wake up and fight the Blight. And so that's what they were doing. And then they've been disrupted, and all of a sudden they're involved with what's going on with Supergirl right now. And they know what happens in the future, but they can't tell them and be specific. These shows love to fuck around with time. So these kids from the Saturn Girl and Brainiac 5, they're not familiar with Earth at all. Mon-El himself had only come to Earth last season and stuff. So he's telling them stories about Earth's greatest cultures, and they've been destroyed in the future for the Legion of Superheroes. Like, the Blight has taken over, and art and history has just gone out the fucking window. So they make reference to the greats, and they're like, Albert Einstein, Shakespeare, and Bon Jovi. And so it's a real throwaway joke where you're like, oh, that's kind of cute. Like he told these kids in the future Bon Jovi was a big deal. But then in the third act, when they go to fight, like the kind of rallying, like Saturn Girl is trying to convince Mon-El they should join the fight, even though they're supposed to stay out of it because if they die in the present, the world dies in the future, blah, blah, blah. But she's just like, what did you always tell us about Tommy and Gina, And suddenly he smiles, and like I was sitting there going, Tommy and Gina, oh my God, they're fucking referencing Bon Jovi fucking lyrics. And so when the Legion of Superheroes goes to fight, they're blasting, we gotta hold on to what we got. Made it just that much fucking better as they fought Rain. It was a really good comeback episode.
Nothing makes me feel younger than being a grown man trying to explain the plot of a thing like this.
Yeah.
Because it reminds me of like, so Dad, in this episode of Knight Rider, his evil twin, Garth, comes back, and so he's got a fucking giant truck called Goliath that's just as strong as Kit, but bigger. And so like it's that level of intensity and investment in
this
what...
is the only place I get away with it. Like, because I watched that episode this morning, and I was so fucking like, oh my God, it was beautiful. And I was crying during the episode. So I went into the bedroom. My wife woke up. So she was awake, and she was like, what's the matter? I was like, I got to tell you what happened on Supergirl. And I went into that much detail, and, she was like, I just woke up. And by the time I finished, her expression just read like, I can't believe I let you stick your dick in me. She was like, you know way too much. You thought about this show way too much. But yeah, I don't know. What a great culture. Could you imagine growing up in a world where like you couldn't go that deep on something? Like my old man, if my old man loved like, fucking, I don't know, fucking Star Trek, which I know he didn't. It wasn't his cup of tea. But if he did, there would have been nobody for him to be like, oh shit, man. And then in the third act, there are a million tribbles, or something like that. Like you would just kind of like, it'd be your thing, and then slowly you'd find a tribe. You just saw somebody with a fucking bumper sticker or something like that. It was easier for us as kids to find like-minded individuals. But it's nice to be fucking 47 and talking about Supergirl, and people aren't like, arrest that man. With other adults. I don't know, it's kind of fun. Yes.
News?
Yeah, we could dive into the news.
You want some news?
Yeah.
So remember,
wait, did we talk about Runaways?
We did not talk about
Did
Runaways.
you finish Runaways?
I did finish Runaways.
Go ahead. Where do you?
They ran away.
They did.
Finally.
They lived up to their name. What'd you think?
I really liked it. I really liked
too.
it. I feel like the show's a little bit out of balance in that I wanted to spend more time with the kids than I did with the parents. And I get that to a certain degree. Like, there's a couple of those kids are like 28 years old. Yeah. Like Chase is not a fucking high school kid, but he's the bohunk, dreamy,
the good-looking lead
kid.
guy. Yeah.
Because it's the CW, so he's got that Luke Perry shit happening where he's like, almost a senior in life, but
not a senior in high school,
not
a senior citizen.
But there was enough kids on that show that you can't work them as hard. So you've got there's labor restrictions. So you got to lean heavily on the parents, and they're probably better actors. But I'm here for the kids. Like that show for me, it lives and dies with those kids, and I kind of loved it, man. I dug the shit out of that show.
Especially for something that has Marvel in the title, but doesn't really. Hey man, it's fucking. There's Captain America. Hey man, it's Wolvie. Like, this deep cuts Marvel.
Yeah.
But it was enjoyable as fuck. I was sad to see it end. I was like, no. I thought maybe they'd do 12, but only 10 episodes.
Only 10. But they got a second season right off the bat.
Oh, right on. Did they?
Yeah. For 13 episodes probably next year because life sucks.
Yeah, it's going to take a minute, I guess, to put them back together. They pulled the dinosaur off, too. Old Lace. Like, really I was worried about that, but actually, they had a really touching scene in the last episode where Gert has to, like, say goodbye. And you knew she was acting with like a fucking rubber head, but the actress was really good, man. She found a place to go where I'm watching the scene. I know it's a fucking dinosaur. I know she's acting really to like nothing, and probably when they were like cut, they were all like ah ha 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 ha. But I was crying the whole fucking time, man. I was like, this girl deserves an Emmy. Really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I dug it. I dug the shit out of it. They're doing some good stuff in Marvel TV.
They are.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
What does that mean?
And that means I want them to give me a job. So,
all right. I thought you meant you had a job, and you were like,
No.
and here's my big Marvel dick news.
I have no Marvel dick news. I'm sorry.
All right, let's dive into just the regular old dick news.
You remember that they were making a Flash movie for a while?
They have been threatening to make a Flash movie for quite some time. But now, for the first time, I'm more interested than I ever was because I liked what they did with Ezra Miller's Flash. Rather, I guess we should say, I like what Ezra Miller did with Flash. And that's a tall order because I'm a big Grant Gustin fan. I'm going up to shoot my 3rd episode of Flash next week. Thank you. So when they first announced we're casting somebody else and it's not going to be connected to the show, I was like, what a fucking stupid idea. But I liked what they did.
Yeah.
I thought it could stand on its own.
Yeah, they've been trying for a while. They've had like 19 directors who lined up to make a Flash movie, all of which decided not to make a Flash movie.
2 of whom were
Miller and Lord.
Miller and Lord, yeah.
Who left the Flash movie to go do Solo.
Yeah, they're like, we'll never get fired.
No, everything's rosy. Who doesn't like us? Yeah. We're these guys. And then Seth Grahame-Smith, the dude who did...
he wrote the Batman Lego movie.
One of them. He also wrote the fucking Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, right?
Yeah.
Is that guy?
Or no, Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
Right. Yeah.
Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Right, yeah. The Pride and Prejudice was a book, and Lincoln Vampire Hunter was a movie. He got creative difference out of that. And then Rick Famuyiwa, who did Dope.
Yeah, that's right. He was going to do it.
Was on it for a while and was excited. They announced him at Comic-Con one year, and he stood up there with the directors of the DC Universe.
Including Ben Affleck.
It feels like the directors of the DC Universe is dropping like Trump's cabinet did. Like you can just start to like pull that motherfucker's not there. That guy's not there. That guy's not there.
You took us political, man.
I'm sorry. I'm just 10 little Indian zing. So he left over creative differences. So now they got the 2 dudes who wrote Spider-Man: Homecoming.
They're directing?
They're directing. John Francis Daly and blah, 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 Jonathan Goldstein.
I'm for that, man. I like that. That script was really good. I thought.
It was a really tight script. This would be their second movie they directed.
So they're going to write and direct this?
They're going to write and direct.
What was the first thing they directed?
The Vacation reboot with Ed Helms and Thor's Dick.
I didn't see it. How was it?
I didn't see it either.
It's fun.
That dude's crying a little bit. I don't know if it's like good tears. Are those like Kev tears or just like sad tears? He's not a fan of the Vacation movie. But yeah, so they signed on to write and direct Flash, Flashpoint, Electric Boogaloo.
We know they could do fan service very well. Spider-Man Homecoming was a love letter to Spider-Man comics. So that's good. They're doing Flashpoint, which is so fucking smart because it allows you to do the most interesting Flash story ever told and incorporate the rest of the DC universe in a way that makes sense. And if they want to change any of their cinematic problems thus far, they can do that with Flashpoint if they're even interested in going forward with a connected cinematic universe. I don't know. This all sounds fucking good.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose I would have been a little bit more chagrined at the fact that these 2 guys with very little directorial experience get to do this. But the Russo brothers hadn't much fucking directorial experience before they took Winter Soldier and made that fucking awesome.
I'm sure Warner Brothers is just like, you know what they're going to cost us? Nothing. Like, this movie is going to be expensive. Why fucking pay a director a big fat salary when we can give it to somebody who's fucking hungry, wants to cut their teeth, prove themselves and shit like that? I mean, it's Moneyball. It's smart. Makes sense.
True.
But more importantly, they proved they could tell a really winning story in that particular genre. So I don't know. I think that sounds smart.
Yeah, I mean the one thing that I would like to see not happen anymore though, is when female directors or directors of color come up and people say, well, they don't have an experience, they don't have enough under their belts to do a big movie like this. You could then point to these 2 guys and be like, well, they made a Vacation movie once.
Yeah.
So like that should not be an excuse anymore for people not getting jobs. So
very true.
So yeah, hey, while they got a director, the Gambit movie, remember they were making a Gambit movie?
Yeah. They lost a director.
Channing Tatum still wants to make a Gambit movie, but nobody else does because they've now lost.
I would like to see that. You don't think people want to see a dude whip cards in people's faces? Like, how do you fight crime? Like this, mon ami. 52 pickup. Now I run.
Joker's wild.
That means they'll do. Will Rogue be in it as well?
I guess she could be. Why not? It's Fox.
You would have to.
Then again, if it's Fox and now it's Marvel, now they can do whatever the fuck they want. Everybody could be in it.
So they lost?
They lost Gore Verbinski,
the guy who did the pirate movies.
He did all the Pirates movies and Lone Ranger and Mouse.
That's a huge loss
Hunt.
for that movie.
Yeah. You ever see Mouse Hunt?
Yeah, way back in the day. Oh my God, you're right. He did that. Wow, what a deep cuts pull that was.
It's actually a really good movie.
Yeah. But still,
just saying.
fucking.
I don't know
showing
why.
off your fucking like. Look how smart I am.
My useless knowledge dick.
That
Yeah,
was
look
good.
at it. Can't do anything with his brain.
All right, so wait. Gore Verbinski leaves. They haven't announced a new director yet.
No.
Something tells me that's just going to get pushed again because if this Fox Disney deal is truly happening, which all indicators say yes, I'm sure Kevin Feige's like, let's just put a moratorium on all X things until I get there. Like they announced that New Mutants has been moved.
Has it really?
Many months.
Like
in
fall?
another direction, yeah. It was supposed to be coming a lot sooner, and they just moved it. Whereas they moved Deadpool up by a month or something like that. But that smells to me like, and I don't know shit about shit. And let me just say that, like, I'm gonna say that out loud as a precursor to almost everything I say. I don't know shit about shit because there've been a few news articles this week of like Kevin Smith says they're gonna kill the Millennium Falcon.
I know.
And I was like, he did? And then I click on the story. I'm like, oh, I like we were bullshitting on Fat Man on Batman. Like, on one hand, I'm like, that ain't news. And then on the other hand, I'm like, that means it's a slow news week. That's good. Like, at the end of the day, if they're like, hey, man, Smith said something about a movie he's got nothing to do with, same old fucking story, that means that we have not gotten bombed by North Korea yet.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a good thing.
And also, I mean,
But again, this is all opinion. I don't have any inside information.
You have it within your power to alter the course of the Marvel universe. Why could you not alter the course of the Star Wars universe?
No. The only thing the Star Wars universe wants from me is my fucking $10 or $20 every time one comes out. Okay, but that being said, what was I just talking about? I got derailed.
Shifting changes, Kevin Feige doing what he wants. Put a pin in it. You're never making this movie without me. Yada, yada, yada. I cried.
Oh, I don't know. Anyway,
Did you say Elf on a Shelf?
no, he said the X-Men on the shelf.
Oh,
I think they're probably just going to wait until the dust settles because he wants to play with those toys. There's a motivating factor in this deal. Like, don't make no bones about it. Kevin Feige wanting the X-Men back was a big part of it, man. Like, at the end of the day, you're talking about one of their most successful fucking producers on the lot. And he comes to him and he's just like, look, it's just a matter of money, right? Makes sense to have these characters together, right? And they were like, you're right. Bam. So I don't know. Now I'm lost. Fuck, I forgot what I was going to talk about. I forgot what it was. I was saying, like, I don't know shit about shit, but.
Were you gonna like solve cold fusion or something? Were you gonna like? I don't know shit about shit, but if you add the covalent molecules to the fucking hydrogenous ambitule, and I swear, maybe we get fucking time travel. We're done. I don't know shit about shit, you guys. But Nobel Prize me, motherfuckers.
I wish I was your version of me. All right, moving on to the next thing.
So there's also a Han Solo movie coming out in May.
That's right. It's got like 19 different directors on it.
It does. Almost as many as The Flash, but they actually shot it, including half the dudes who were going to direct The Flash.
Yeah, it's true.
So there was a marketing mailer that went out today from like Bob Iger, who was explaining to all the shareholders like what's coming up this year, what's going to be awesome. And there was a bit of a plot synopsis for Solo in this, which, spoilers, everything you think is going to happen in a Han Solo movie is happening in this movie, which is he meets Chewbacca. Again, spoilers. I don't know if you know Star Wars, but he meets Chewbacca, and he hangs out with Lando Calrissian a little bit.
So he meets both of them in this movie.
Right, because those people have been cast, so we know that there's a fucking Lando Calrissian in it. But there was a little thing that JCR producer dug up, that there's a toy, a Lego toy, that got sort of teased this week that it's a Lego Kessel Run Millennium Falcon.
So that means they're going to do the Kessel Run as well. Oh my God, it's like Han Solo's greatest hits.
Brought to you by
Everything you
K-Tel.
ever knew about Han Solo, but we never showed you, we're going to show you now, including his dick. That is, I guess, if you're going to do it, shoot the moon, right? Because
You're only going to do it once.
Do a series of these. Like Rogue One was a one-off, but they had to because, spoilers, everybody fucking dies. It's
Yeah,
true.
sorry, dude.
Except for, no, Hope lives. Gets new and shit like that. But yeah, fuck, man.
Yeah. Not a lot of surprise in that movie, at least near as we can tell. Or at least the shit that we know we're going to get, we knew we were going to get anyway.
I mean, you want to sit there and be like, come on. But, like, if you're going to make a Han Solo movie, God bless you, I guess you'd have to include the Kessel Run. If you're going to do, like, it smells like, if he's meeting Lando, maybe he's winning the Falcon. And everything's going to happen in this fucking movie. Mm-hmm. Is there anything they ever mentioned? They'll probably, I bet you Jabba will be a factor.
Yeah, would have to be, you'd think.
Boba Fett? They'll let him walk through in the background or something like that?
And then just fall down and die.
I mean, I guess it makes sense, but it's like, what if the movie's huge? Like, what do they do for the next one? They're like, oh shit, we shot our wad. They're like, let's make it that Han Solo can force project across the galaxy. All right, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, I will have that. My favorite movie from 2014. Can you guess what it is? Just guess, wildly. You're not going to guess. That's fine.
2014.
Yeah.
Fuck, what was happening? 50 Shades. Fucking 50 Shades.
Yes. Yes.
Mark's like, what can I say? I like movies about desire. I don't know. What was your favorite movie of 2014?
My favorite movie of 2014 was John Wick. Were you a John?
I like John Wick very much. It wasn't my favorite movie that year, but I liked it very much. I remember you liked that quite a bit.
I judge my favorite movie by the one that I will watch any fucking time it's on, and I've seen John Wick's 87 times.
Really?
Yeah. Because you could just fucking turn it on whenever you want, and it's awesome, and it doesn't... The dog dies, and then everything else makes sense. Sorry, spoilers. The dog dies.
Did you watch the sequel?
I did watch the sequel.
And?
I didn't love the sequel as much as I loved the first one. The first one is this pure piece of cinema awesomeness. The second one is like world building for dummies.
What do you mean world building?
They spend like 45 minutes telling you about
the backstory
of the hotel.
Oh, really?
But here's the thing. The hotel is getting a TV show.
Ah.
Stars and Lionsgate are teaming up for The Continental, a TV show that will take place in and around the famed Continental Hotel where everything is legal except for killing other hitmen. Keanu is an executive producer of this and will probably appear as John Wick in one form or another.
That's cool. That's a good idea.
Fuck yeah, I'm all about that because I love that movie. Even though I didn't love spending 19 hours in that hotel in the sequel, I will spend 22 hours as a TV show in that fucking hotel.
If they just break it up into bits.
Just break it up into bits, I'm all good.
Very nice.
But yeah, so that's coming from Stars at some point. There's still a lot of shit that needs to get hammered down. But the director of the film, one of the directors of the film, Chad Stahelski, I believe his name is. I'm probably mispronouncing that 8 different ways. He's directing the pilot. And it's being written by the same dude who wrote the feature. So it's in good hands.
That's they're getting everything they can out of that IP, as they now call it.
Indeed.
Good for them, man. Good for Keanu too, who like understands it. Like, people like this, I'm in.
Done. What else do you need me to do?
Yeah.
Speaking of Stars, they have this little television show called American Gods. Did you watch any of the American Gods?
Neil Gaiman's American Gods. I did not yet. I failed in that respect.
You failed the city?
Yeah. Like
it
Diggle.
is. I love it so. It is bonkers in almost every way a show can be bonkers. It goes for it at every chance it could go for it, including times it kind of shouldn't go for it. That maybe restraint would be on your side, but whatever the fuck, this bison has flaming eyes. Sure, this is a field of skulls. Why not? That lady's a zombie. Just kicked a dude's crotch out through his spine. Fine. All of this is good by me. But Stars and Fremantle, who produced the show,
yes,
have dismissed the 2 showrunners, Brian Fuller and Michael Green.
Yeah, well,
friend of the show, Michael Green.
Yeah.
Yeah, who had the greatest year of any screenwriter ever.
Because he wrote Blade Runner, Alien.
24/9, Alien Covenant, Logan, Murder on the Orient Express, and was running American Gods all in 1 year. But those two guys were let go from the show. The scuttlebutt is it was over budget, that they were spending all of the money. And Fremantle was like, maybe not all the money. How about like 3/4 of the money?
So they got Darabounted off the show?
They got a little Darabounted off the show.
They got the Darabounce?
Nice. Iteration is our friend. But Neil Gaiman, this all came out at TCAs, the Television Critics Association, like winter tour where all the networks parade their wares in front of the TV critics of the world.
Right.
That Neil Gaiman is going to come on as the showrunner of his own show.
Oh.
In a limited fashion.
Oh?
Yeah. Because
what does that mean?
It means he's also doing Good Omens for Amazon.
Yeah.
Which he's running himself. And he said, listen, I can come and help on this, but I can't be the adult in the room. You're going to have to find me somebody else. So we still don't know who that somebody else is yet, but Neil Gaiman will not be actually rescuing his own show.
I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds horrible. He's like, I watched it die.
It was lovely, but
I'm sure he'll do all that he possibly can. But they're going forward.
They are. They're doing a
Just
season 2.
sounds like they're doing a cheaper season 2.
Probably. Which, it happens when you spend the moon, but only get the stars.
They announced that, this week there was a photo of Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock in the Venom movie, which thankfully they told us that because it looks like a photo of Tom Hardy. Period. Like,
without a mask, I can't recognize him.
Without him being Venom, it's just fucking him. So I guess they're shooting now, and so the people with cameras nearby capturing some scenes, from a distance and whatnot. But, and I guess maybe they finally said this is something we all wanted to know, and maybe they said it because maybe they're going to be shooting outside, so maybe they had to fucking say something. But they've confirmed that Tom Holland's Spider-Man will be in Venom. Yeah, that's really, really cool. Because for a minute it was smelling like, no, that's Sony's Spider-Man world and it's going to be separate. But now it feels like they worked well together with Homecoming, and so they're playing.
Yeah, and it feels like you actually need that glue to make it work.
I agree. I didn't know how they were going to fucking do it without reference to Spider-Man or something like that.
It kind of doesn't make any sense. Although we're not going to get the symbiote suit, I'm sure. Symbiote.
Well, then how would they do it?
I don't know, but I mean, we're not going to see the Spider-Man we see in Avengers 2 / Infinity War does not see, I mean, maybe he gets it at the end of Infinity War, the black suit, and then that spins us into Venom. Maybe.
Well, I mean, in the comics, it was during the Secret Wars.
Right.
He went into space. All the heroes went into space. They were made to fight. And then that's where he got the symbiotic suit, which was an alien life form that responded to his thoughts. So he just thought of the suit, and it came onto him, and he didn't have to pull on his dopey suit. And the webs were still... Did he still have his own web shooters, or the suit became...
I think the suit gave him the webs.
So... he separated from the suit because it started making him a little crazy, or no?
I think it's like he would wake up places, like there was missing time for Peter Parker, where he'd be like...
He woke up and the suit was blowing him. It was single white female. He's like, oh, fuck, I came.
Is this dry clean only, alien?
I don't want to be like this. He eventually got out of the suit. I can't remember what the exact reason was. I think it was because he was like, I don't trust the sentient suit anymore. And then the suit had to go find somebody else to live on, and it found Eddie Brock, who's like, I fucking hate Peter Parker. He's another photographer, if I remember correctly. Peter was a photographer as well, competing photographer. So the suit goes on to him, and he's a big, muscular fucking dude. And so Venom was a big, muscular version of that Spider-Man suit. So that's very tied in with Spider-Man. I don't know how you do that story without him. Sounds like they are,
right.
But there's no way they're doing Secret Wars. And I don't think they'll. I mean, if they're shooting that Venom movie now, and granted they'll need 6 months because there'll be a lot of effects, CG with that character. Avengers happens when? May. So he would have to get a suit at the end of that version.
Yep.
in order to have it ready for. And if they did that, that's what a magical world we live in, where they're like, oh, we just couldn't let it not be this. So yes, it's a fucking suit from outer space, just like you remember in the comics. That might be a little too much to ask.
Well, here's what happens though. It's a post credits tag.
Oh, you're so fucking smart.
Peter Parker.
Oh my God! Like they don't need to fire fucking Michael Green. They just need to bring you on and figure out how to do things more economically. You're like, just do the whole season in a tag.
Now he goes on. He hangs out with the Guardians. He's on the Milano. There's a fucking box. He opens the box and it's a fucking black suit. This is dope. And then boom, we just see it crawl on his hands. And then you cut out of that scene.
Who gave him the suit?
Maybe it's on the Milano, on the Guardian ship.
So it wasn't meant to be the Spider-Man suit, but it just... I'm getting excited. You're just making this up.
We don't know shit about shit. That should be the subtitle for this podcast.
It's true.
Guys, we don't know shit about shit, but...
I like your version. Okay, and in other news as well, The Walking Dead just switched their showrunner. Mm-hmm. It was Scott Gimple for a long time.
Scott Gimple for the last 3 years, 4 years, I think.
It's going to be Angela
Kang, who's the co-executive producer on the show.
And she's been writing forever on that show.
She's been on that show since she was a staff writer the second season.
Why the shakeup, do you think?
I think it's because Scott Gimple, now the storehouse of television information about Walking Dead, they wanted to have him oversee everything. So now he's going to oversee Fear the Walking Dead, oversee another spin-off, TBD, I think they're talking about, because
they're going to do another Dead show?
I mean, I would.
This shit still ain't dead. Wow, good for them,
Not dead yet.
AMC is going to be the all-dead channel.
But yeah, so Angela Kang is taking over.
Keep talking like that, it will be Comic Book Man.
Yeah, and I think our last bit of news is that we were talking about Brian Fuller earlier.
Brian Fuller, who, correct me if I'm wrong, did he do Pushing Daisies?
He did do Pushing Daisies.
Fucking loved that show. God, I loved that show. I was so sad when that show went away. You want to talk about distinct, unique. What a fucking voice. But he's done a lot. He's done a lot of fucking shows.
He's done a lot of fucking shows.
He did Hannibal as well, right?
He did Hannibal. He was on Heroes.
Oh, was he on Heroes?
Yeah, he was on Heroes.
Him with Tim Crane?
Uh-huh. And he started Star Trek Discovery and then left to go do American Gods. And then he left American Gods under shadowy circumstances. And now he's going to be running the Vampire Chronicles television show about Lestat, the vampire Lestat.
Oh, we talked about that. Who's
Paramount? The Paramount Network, I think, is now involved in it.
The Paramount Network, as what used
formerly
to be
Spike.
It dies tonight, right?
Yeah.
There's somebody, I don't know who it was, but whoever does Spike's social media
account,
account,
kind of badass.
Yeah, today, just like pretended to be Spike the channel, and just started being real and honest. And it's a pretty hysterical read. Like at one point, it's like I gave all my employees empty gift certificate cards for Christmas because I suck. Something like that. So Spike's going away. That's a huge, 15 years.
Yeah.
And they're flipping the brand. And it's not like when Sci-Fi or Sky-Fi went to Syfy. Like, this is a complete fucking change of brand altogether.
Yeah, it's
you
no
could be a
longer
total Spike person, then turn it on the next day and suddenly be presented with the Paramount Network.
Yeah, with Westerns.
Is that what they're doing?
They're doing Waco, the miniseries, following David Koresh.
With Melissa. Melissa's in it.
They're doing Yellowstone, the sort of modern-day Western with, what's-his-face, Kevin Costner.
So that's, okay.
Yeah, like spending money to get in the prestige business, although I don't know if anybody's going to watch the Paramount Network. And, I want to get MMA. Oh, what? Kevin Costner looking grim at the horizon.
Is that what they used to have on Spike? Was a lot of MMA?
A lot of wrestling, a lot of tattoo shows, the occasional, Saturday afternoon Hunt for Red October-a-thon, because why would you not do that if you had a network? But so they're doing the Vampire Chronicles with Anne Rice and Christopher Rice involved, and they're going to tell the long and winding story of the vampire Lestat.
Who's Christopher Rice?
Anne Rice's son.
Does he write the books now or something?
He co-writes the books with Anne, yeah.
Oh, really? That's sweet. I never heard that, really. Yeah. That came later? That wasn't for all the famous books we know. That was later in life?
I think it's a little bit like when Brian Herbert took over writing Dune books for Frank J. Herbert.
That was a thing, too?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that shit. I thought that only happened in the comics. Like the guy who wrote Family Circus gave it to his kids. And they were like, no fucking thanks.
But yeah, I have not read a Lestat book in 30 years, and so I was in high school and pretended to be a goth.
Yeah.
Which was weird. I mean, it never fit. I'll just say right now it didn't really work. But I read the Interview of the Vampire Lestat. There was a third one I want to say was about a mummy. What was it? Queen of the Damned. There it is. There have been 48 different vampire novels at this point. The most recent which involved him going to Atlantis. So maybe there's one too many vampire novels.
He went underwater?
Lestat goes to Atlantis. Which sounds like I made that shit up in like word jumble or something. Like, sure, put these three words together in a row. Maybe they'll make sense.
Were there water breathers? Was it the Lost City of Atlantis?
All I know is he goes to Atlantis. So I'm assuming that it's underwater Atlantis and not like Michigan, if there's an Atlantis. Or the casino resort.
The Atlantis. Yeah. Like, we ran out of ideas, so we sent Lestat to a casino. Surprise, he wins.
But yeah, so that will be coming on screens, I think, next year, they're planning on.
Well, right on. And so Fuller's doing that. What is the thing he just left?
American Gods and Discovery.
So he got fired and he got hired right away. This guy works all the time.
At that level, nobody stays unemployed for that long.
It's like a hockey coach. If they get fired, they get picked up like a week later by another team within the league. Wow. So there's job security in being Brian Fuller.
There is. There's only but one.
It's true. All right, good for him, man. I look forward to watching that, I guess. I'll figure out what network the Paramount, or what channel the Paramount Network is on. That's their name, the Paramount Network?
Yeah, the most boring name.
Yeah, like, I mean, Spike had more fucking going for it than the Paramount Network.
I mean,
it's a mouthful.
I think they think people really like Paramount.
Can you think of another channel that's got a long-ass name, that many syllables in their name?
The Discovery Channel?
And they did pretty well. Fuck
But
me, I don't know shit about shit, apparently.
Well, at least I know what I'm getting when I get on the Discovery Channel. I'm going to discover some shit.
That's true.
Am I just going to Paramount some shit?
Yeah, what's their fucking slogan going to be? We're of paramount importance.
Climb on.
Climb on. That's fucking good. You should pitch that to him, man. We're the Paramount Network. Climb on. Is that it? Oh, my God. We killed somebody.
Sorry.
Everybody okay?
Don't mind us.
All right, man. Is that it for the news?
That is all the news.
That's all the news? Did we not miss anything?
I don't think we missed anything.
If we do, we'll find out in this next section of the show. The next section of the show, ladies and gentlemen, is everybody's favorite. That's when we turn to the audience and we start doing Q&A, man. As per usual, we got gifts to give out to people that ask questions that we deem worthy. And we're not really all that judgy or anything. The questions just have to apply to both me and Marc and have to generate some good conversation. What you'll get this time around is our good friends at the Ripley's Believe It or Not Auditorium has given us tickets to give out. You'll get 2 tickets to Ripley's, and you'll also get 2 tickets to the 4DX theater here in Los Angeles. Our good friend Deacon has brought 4DX tickets for us to give away. If you've not seen a movie in a 4DX theater, please go do yourself a favor and go see it. If it snows in the movie, it snows in the theater. If somebody burns rubber in the movie, you smell that burnt rubber. Sooner or later, they're going to take a Seth Rogen movie and you will smell weed in the theater. The chair moves around, man. It's a fucking ride and a half. It's awesome. So we got tickets they got a theater here at LA Live. Is that where it is?
Right.
So you can go see a movie there and stuff. And we thank the 4DX folks for those tickets. Okay. Yes. Give it up for 4DX.
So we got 4 sets of Ripley's tickets and 5 4DX tickets.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So somebody's going without a Ripley. All right. Fair enough. But still. Okay. JC, you got a microphone? Are you ready to go? Bam, let's do it. You tweeted me last week, said I'm with a guy who wants to ask a question.
I did. That was me, and it was my friend Robert. And I'm sorry I said my new friend because I knew his name, and his name is Robert, and he has a great question.
Friend. Yeah. All right, so
yes, we met here. So
you guys are friends since you're right on.
yeah.
Crowd approves. Very low bar.
Yeah,
All right, so you're Robert, the new
yes,
friend?
I'm Robert.
How
Hello.
are you,
friend.
man?
I am great.
She
Thank
went
you so
out of her
much.
way for you last week, dude. She was like, you got to let him ask the first question. So
Yeah.
we're letting you ask the first question.
Okay, well, I'm going to cheat a little bit because this question I've wanted to ask since November, and it's just for Kevin, but I have one for both of you, so it's 2 questions, really.
Okay.
But the November question, you mentioned before in the podcast how joke off on and off about, I don't know who listens, who doesn't, but Chris Hemsworth gave a Vanity Fair interview where he talked about the Thor Ragnarok movie, and that everyone loves the new tone. He credits you for the new tone in Thor.
Yeah.
The exact quote is, hearing someone like Smith, who represents the fanboy world, with such a kick in the ass to change gears, we sort of had nothing to lose. People didn't expect what we did with it this time around. Just want to get your thoughts on that quote.
I loved it. I want more Avengers to say nice things about me. We talked about it on the show. It was a big deal when it happened. I was like, oh my fucking God, Chris Hemsworth knows my name. But it was very cool. But also we sat there going, because he talked about me being critical about the Thor movies, and I honestly couldn't remember any time. Maybe those were the ones I was least effusive about, where I was like, man, they should let him be funny like he is in the Avengers. But for whatever reason, that he went into his bosses and he was like, the guy that made Tusk said we should do this. And they fucking listened. So it was nice, but I don't think I deserve that much credit. But it felt fucking cool, just that he knew my name and that he'd heard the podcast and shit like that. I think that's kind of sweet. I had another moment like that this week when Chris Evans tweeted there was a photo of Paul Ryan on Martin Luther King Day staring at a bust of Martin Luther King, and he wrote some, fucking stuff about, serious stuff about it's Martin Luther King Day and reflection and blah, blah, blah. And so Chris Evans, Captain America himself, retweeted that, and his comment was like something, I can't remember the exact thing, but something to the effect of like, it looks like he's looking at a magic eye trying to see the sailboat. And so a bunch of people forwarded to me to be like, fucking Chris Evans just made a Mallrats reference, man. And so, I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, he legit made a Mallrats reference. And so I retweeted him and with a quote from Avengers said, I understood that reference.
That's awesome.
So that's 2 Avengers. I got 2 Avengers so far. Know my name or work or something like that. It's very nice. It felt very cool. But
awesome.
it didn't come with any like free tickets or anything. They didn't even ask me to go to the premiere, I don't think. But it was nice to read about. Like, yeah, he was helpful. We don't want him near us, but he was helpful.
Well, you have fans everywhere at the podcast. So, but anyway, I had a question for both of you, and this was. We love the film. We love films. We're all film fans here. Hear a lot about films. Some films get made, don't get made. Directors go in and out of projects. Some movies don't get made for whatever reason. I wanted to know any movie for both of you that didn't get made that you're really disappointed by it. Like some examples would be Tim Burton's Batman 3 or Richard Donner's unfinished Superman sequels that he would have loved to make. What franchise or movies did you want to see take off but maybe didn't for whatever reason?
I just talked a lot. You can start.
It's my turn to talk now.
Yes.
Did we just talk about Dune? We did just talk about Dune.
Yeah,
Dune,
we talked about Herbert passing it on.
Dune is one of my favorite books of all time, one of my favorite movies of all time. That being said, I'm fascinated by what Alejandro Jodorowsky's Dune would have looked like. And there's an amazing documentary that is just called Jodorowsky's Dune, which you should look at. But it's examining a thing that I already love through the prism of somebody else's work that I'm a little familiar with but hadn't known that much until I saw that movie. And the thought exercise of taking something that I know exists but trying to imagine what it would have been like in somebody else's hands. I would have liked to have seen that Dune. I think that Dune could have been amazing. Yeah, I mean, there's...
Now you're going to get Denis Villeneuve's Dune.
I'm going to get Denis Villeneuve's Dune. I also would not have minded seeing Terry Gilliam's Harry Potter. I think he was...
Was that a thing?
He was in the running, I think, for the 3rd episode, for Prisoner of Azkaban.
Oh, wow.
And one of his big lobbying points was nobody quite knows what it's like to be in a British boarding school than somebody who's been in a British boarding school. But I think that the dude who does Time Bandits doing Harry Potter would have been phenomenal. That said, Alfonso Cuarón's Harry Potter is probably the best of the three, and I'm glad I got that one. But in the serendipity, like the path less taken, that's another one that I think would have been fascinating to see.
Buckaroo Banzai versus the World Crime League. I was always sad that never happened, and so sad that like when MGM called a couple of years back and said, "Hey," my agent called actually. He said, "Do you know anything about Buckaroo Banzai?" I said, "Fuck yeah, man! That was one of my favorite movies. Made me want to be a writer. I had the poster up in my room and shit." He goes, "MGM has a property. They want to take it out into the world, turn it into a series. Do you want to go talk to them about it?" And I said, "I'll talk to anybody about Buckaroo Banzai." So I went into MGM, and they were coming off of first season of Fargo, had done very, very well. So they were interested in taking stuff from their library and turning it into TV shows. So they said, "What would we love Buckaroo Banzai. Thank you. What would you do, if you were involved?" And I said, "Oh, I would do the movie as season 1 of the TV show, and then season 2 would be the promised World Crime League." And they were like, "What would you do for season 3?" I said, "I don't know, go to space." And so they were like, "All right, you're the guy." And so we went out and pitched it a bunch of places, and we pitched it to like every place, all the usual suspects. And at the end of the day, BBC America and Amazon wanted it the most. Amazon wound up offering more, and so it went there. For a minute, like it looked like I was going to be able to see that sequel because I was going to be involved in that sequel. The problem was the guys who created it, Earl McRock, and he was the writer, and W.D. Richter, the director, were not involved in the process at all. So we wanted to bring them in, but they were left out of it, and they weren't being financially remunerated. So there was this weird moment of like, I wanted to see the sequel to Buckaroo Banzai since I was a fucking kid. And the power is literally in your hands to make that fucking sequel. Like, you don't even have to wait anymore, man. It falls into your indie ethos. Fuck waiting for somebody to pick you. You have picked yourself, and you're going to fucking make that sequel that you've always wanted to see. And then I thought about, like, well, what if somebody gets Clerks years from now, and they're going to turn it into a series? And I'm like, oh, I'd love to come fucking play. And they're like, we're good. Like, that would break my fucking heart and shit. So I stayed involved and for a minute, and then all of a sudden I dropped out. Like, it was weird. It was a weird crisis of conscience where I wanted something really badly, but at the same, and also it would have been nice to have like a fucking show to fuck around with and do what you want. But at the same time, like, I didn't want it that bad. Not bad enough to fucking ice those dudes out. So I dropped out and kind of walked away from it. So I can't bitch about not seeing the thing, or oh man, they didn't do it, because I could have done it. But the, I don't know, conscience won out at the end of the day. So hopefully somebody will do it one day, because I just the title alone captured my imagination. It was so comic book at a time when that was very sparse. Like nowadays, throw a rock and somebody's super, and somebody's parents have fucking died and they need vengeance, and they're going to put on a coat and mask and shit like that. But back then, it was few and far between, in the world, in cinema world particularly. So any reference felt like water in the desert. And so that movie, just the title, it's all we ever had, captured my imagination. And for one brief shining moment, I was going to be able to fucking tell the story. But somebody else will get to it eventually, I think. That's more answer than you wanted. I'm sorry. Give it up for him. He gets tickets. Da-da-da. All right, take us someplace else, JC. You better go there, man.
You got more shit you got to sign.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hey. Excellent. First time here. First time seeing you, Kev. Really excited.
Hey, how are you?
Before I ask my question, my wife actually can't be here because my son's sick, but she bought me tickets because it was my birthday last week. And she knows how much I wanted to see you, because I've always wanted to tell you at a time in my life where I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I saw Clerks. And I went, that's what I want to do. And I went to film school, graduated from Cal State Long Beach with a film degree. And it was literally because of Clerks. And I just wanted to say, at a time when just the internet and the world is such negativity, it's like it's so inspiring to have you, who I feel is like kind of like a beacon of like inspiration and positivity. And I just want you to know that I appreciate you. We all appreciate you. And it's just, I just really love who you are and what you do. And I find there's probably a million of others just like me.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
And it's like, I was here for 2 minutes. And I got to know this guy and this guy and this guy. You know, it's like, it's crazy. I'm texting my wife. I'm like, I already made friends. It's ridiculous. All because
Fuck off. I've got
I
friends.
know, it's nuts. And so it's just, and it's all because we all share our love for what you do and who you are. So it's just, it's cool.
That means the world, man. Thank you so much.
No, I'm honored just to be able to look you in the eye and say that to you. I've wanted to say it since I was 18 years old, so it's crazy.
That means that, honestly, like, I don't just say that lightly. That does absolutely mean the world. It means way more that it's not a statement that ends with, and it never worked out, so I'm going to kill you in this bar.
No,
it's
it's weird. It's weird in that you have a moment, like so many people are inspired by people, and they're like a mythical person that they'll never know. And so it's like, it's awesome that I'm like, I get to tell the guy that kind of steered me, like in the face, like you moved me in a direction when nothing else would. And it's crazy.
I did that to Richard Linklater. He was the guy.
I know. You tell
that.
that story, and I always laugh. I'm like, Kevin tells my story, but it's just someone else. It's literally the same story. It's
You
so
guys
funny.
are going to have to do the show without us because we're going to go in the back and fuck now. Because clearly
funny.
this man gets me, man.
It's funny. It's because my wife always jokes and like she's saying, I'm fearing you going to this thing, but like I'm gonna let you have this, but you know, and I go, babe, I don't want to fuck him. I just want to be his friend.
But I will fuck him. If
But
fucking him
I
is
tell
on
her,
the
I'm
table.
like, but I tell her,
If
you
I had
don't
a
understand.
nickel for every time I heard that in my life, I don't want to fuck you. I just want to be your friend.
It's true, but I tell her, babe, I'll be such a good friend. I'll treat him so good.
I'll be such
So
a good
okay,
friend.
either way, I'll ask my question. So Kevin Feige said, as I
Yes.
believe, the Avengers lineup will not be the same in Phase 3 as it is in Phase 2. So my question is, who are they going to kill? And if they do kill him, how and will they be replaced?
I didn't say anything. Just move on. Go ahead.
If so, who, and if so, how?
Yeah, well, it's how, because let's say if it's Captain America, are they going to replace him with Falcon? Is it going to be Bucky? Is someone going to take on the mantle of Captain America?
Yes.
Or are they just going to kill arrows? And no one's going to pick up the bow?
No. Well, yeah, I honestly, if Hawkeye goes down, I doubt they're going to rush to refill that position.
Exactly.
But he's the obvious one. I mean, fuck, we all thought he was going to die in Age of Ultron.
Right.
Like, it looked like they were leading up to that, and then they were like, nah, we like being around Jeremy Renner. So,
You told us where to buy our houses.
that's deep cuts. So I think if you're playing Moneyball, and you don't have to because now Disney owns Marvel, but at the end of the day, the most expensive person in their world is Robert Downey Jr. Right. If he's whatever he's getting paid, but for my opinion, it's not enough. He is the very strong spine upon which all of that universe rests. But maybe he's gotten to a point where he's like priced out. You're not talking about a guy who makes $20 million a movie anymore. You're talking about a guy who makes all the money.
Right.
Like, they're like, what do you want to be in it? And he's like, all of it. And they're like, okay.
Right.
So I think financially speaking, if you were like, these movies are only going to go on and get bigger and blah, 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 that's a cord you can cut. It's also a very emotional cord to cut because the entire universe hangs on Tony Stark, Iron Man. The Marvel universe in the real world hangs on the spine of Robert Downey Jr. That performance in Iron Man launched an entire series of movies that were credible and plausible and connected to him, always kind of coming back to his character. Who better to throw under the fucking Thanos bus than that? And if you look at that first trailer they put up, it's a lot of Tony out of the outfit looking scared.
Right.
So I for my money, I think they're going to wind up killing Tony Stark.
Do you think maybe they'll even mend the relationship between Captain America?
They would have to.
Because if in his death, it seems like they come together and they mend what was broken
I
in
would
Civil War.
believe they absolutely have to. I think like Tim, what's his name? Hemsworth has been in the news lately talking about my deal is up officially.
Right.
Like I've now all the contractual obligations I had to Marvel are finished, but I'd do it again. I'd keep going if they wanted to do another, which seems like a soft indication that his character is not going to die in the new Avengers movies. But
Correct.
I bet, I won't say my life, but I'll bet like my fucking fortune, everything I've got in this world, on the fact that Loki dies in those movies.
Oh, okay.
They've been building that arc, it seems like, since the beginning. And
Right.
in the last Thor movie, you know, he's actually taken the kind of turn and become more good than bad, and there he is working with his brother and shit like that. And yes, they revealed that he stole the cube, and I guess that's what's going to bring Thanos into their fucking trajectory. But I think that gives him a chance. He also knows Thanos, remember? Like, he was the one
Right.
Thanos sent him to
Oh, yeah.
Earth with the Chitauri army. Feels like they're building him up to be able to sacrifice himself for his brother so he dies a hero. And I think we've seen like a preview of it in Thor. You know, they showed Matt Damon Loki dying and shit like that. And that's supposed to be a reference to older shit and stuff. But I think I do think they're going to kill him off. That would be,
Okay.
I bet, cold hard money on that. What about you? Who are they going to kill?
I think Hawkeye should die. Probably won't die. Because here's the thing: you have like with Black Widow, you have the character who is incredibly overpowered for the situation.
Yeah.
And if you're dealing with fucking gods in the cosmos, a dude who shoots an arrow or a lady who's got two little pistols can't do a whole hill of beans in that particular fight. So, but I don't think you're going to kill Scarlet. I don't think you're going to kill Scarlett Johansson.
Somebody's got to drive the ship.
Somebody's going to have the shit.
So between Hawkeye and Black Widow, somebody without meta powers or superpowers that can be useful in the fight, and not
Right.
just be like, what are we going to do?
I think they might kill Cap. I think that the idea, like, Captain America's been a soldier for as long as he's been alive.
Okay.
A soldier comes to grips with the fact that your job, in many instances, is to die. You're being paid to die. You're being recruited to die. You're on the front lines. If you're a Marine, then your job is to soak up bullets on a beach somewhere. I think that Steve Rogers would be okay with that result to his life if he died in the line of duty, if he died for a reason. I think that his heroic death is the Coulson writ large.
It's a good death.
It's a good death. I also think, were it me, I would kill Drax also. I am a fucking nightmare of a person. I'm a garbage human. I know that. But if Drax has it in for fucking Thanos, it's established in Guardians 1.
It's true.
He knows him as well as anybody does. If there's
He'll
any,
have his chance.
he'll
try to
have his
kill him.
chance, and he will have his chance. It'll be a noble Pyrrhic death, but there's a way in which that is also the beating heart, in a way, of the Guardians. If Drax goes,
It's going to be intense.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's tough, because then they go into a Guardians 3, which James Gunn just said is going to be 2020, Guardians 3. And he's also confirmed, somebody asked on Twitter, like, you know, are you going to bring Yondu back? And he was like, no, not at all. He's like, that death has to mean something. And as long as I'm involved in these movies, Yondu will never come back. So if that's the case, then they'd be starting Guardians 3 without Yondu and without fucking Drax. Whew. But that's a good poll, man. You're right. It's true. I forgot about it. He's got a thing for Thanos. Is that in both movies or just the first movie?
I think it's the first movie.
You think they kill that many people in the first movie?
Yeah.
I think it'd be smart, man, because if you went to that movie and they're like, we killed fucking Iron Man, bitch, you'd be like, I got to know who dies next, you know?
Yeah. Like I think that in the two-part of it all, then you leave the first part with everything as worse as it can possibly be. The lowest part of that particular arc, and that's fucking, Luke Skywalker with his new bionic hand, staring off at the stars, wondering where the fuck Han Solo is,
or the death of Tony Stark,
and or Captain America.
I gotta be honest, I look forward to it, not because I want to see him die. I love that character, and I could watch Robert Downey Jr. do anything, including my wife, but at the same time,
you gonna stand here the whole time?
Yeah, I'm like, fuck, he's charming. But I do look forward to. I like the story they've been telling for 10 years. I like his whole entire character arc, and I think it wouldn't feel cheap by any stretch of the imagination if he dies in battle with Thanos. I think that'd be strong fucking storytelling.
Yeah.
As long as they don't blast him out into space and then he force flies back or something like that.
I'm just hoping that in one of these movies, Coulson fucking comes back. Because that is still the last shoe that's never dropped, is the fact that Coulson is alive and well somewhere, and the Avengers don't know.
Yeah. Joss, when he was in charge, said that wasn't the case. He was like, Coulson's dead in my world. His death has to mean something. Everybody seems to say that, like the death has to mean something.
Except that Joss then brought him back for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for 4 years.
But was that Joss or his brother?
That was Joss.
So that he should see the Avengers again.
At some point. Remember that thing that galvanized us into action? My death? Psych.
So he should be a bad guy?
Just a little bit of a prick.
Yeah, like Thanos is like, here's my ultimate weapon, and fucking he comes out. He's like, I'm alive, you pricks. 4 years of a TV show without your asses. They never really did have any Avengers crossovers on that show, did they?
I mean, Nick Fury showed up.
Early on.
Very early on, yeah. And there's a bunch of like Easter eggy shit, and hey, like we have some Chitauri tech that we got to deal with, but beyond that, no.
All right, that was a good question, man. You get the tickets. Give it up for him, ladies and gentlemen. Take us, and thank you so much, man. It's incredibly fucking sweet. I'm gonna go home and tell my wife, this is how you have to talk to me from now on. All right, where are we going, JC?
I'm sorry, I was really laughing at the iron cuck that you just mentioned earlier. Letting Iron Man bang your girlfriend. Hello, my name is Jeffrey Clark. I'm wearing a Justice Lord's ring because evil Superman is best Superman. I have 2 quick questions. They're really quick.
Do you start every conversation like that?
Yes, I do.
Evil Superman is the best Superman.
I wanted to ask 2 quick questions. The first one is, I go to Cal State LA, and I'm trying to run a student-run talk show with no help. We're crowdfunding it, and I would love to have you 2 as guests on our show. It's running from March to July. That would be the best thing in the universe for our show, especially since we have no support and we're doing it on our own. And secondly, since we're on the subject of Black Panther and all these great superhero movies coming out, which superhero of color and female superhero would you love to get their own movie? For me, it'd be Static Shock and She-Ra, because why not?
Wow, deep cut.
Which superhero
Well, first,
color?
to answer the first question about being on your show, no. No, of course not. Yes, happy to.
Sweet.
You as well.
We'll exchange emails later.
Yeah, and I'll show up, I guess.
Yeah.
If you drive, I'll go.
Yes. Where is it? Where do you guys?
We're shooting it at Cal State Los Angeles. We're crowdfunding for the camera materials now. We're gonna try to raise $20,000 so we can put this on public access television, which I've already paid for.
Holy
so
shit.
Once we shoot it, it'll go on television and we'll be fine. We're just trying to get our guests in order, amazing people like you and other people who are working, so we can prove that we're badasses and we can get jobs.
Wait, you raised $20,000 already?
No, we're about to. We're
gonna
running
raise
our
it on
crowdfunding
you.
campaign now.
Good
Yeah.
luck.
They're like, you know Marc Bernardin?
Give us that fucking sweet cash. Hero of color I would like to see get their own movie. All right, you know what? Twofer. Storm.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There is no reason on God's green earth why there is not a Storm movie. One of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe, the leader of the X-Men at one point, just badass all around. I think there's a world in which you could spin Storm out of Black Panther. I have no idea if Ororo is in Black Panther, but out of that world, I can see a path. You can connect the dots to get to Ororo Monroe.
We can use your earlier idea. They meet in post-credits.
There you go. Hey!
Hey!
I see the range down in Africa. It's your fault. So yeah, that is my answer.
Well, I mean, traditionally it hasn't been a character. Well, yes, he is a character of color, but they've made him more a character of color recently or something, to use the term. John Jones, the Martian Manhunter.
Yes. Yes.
One of my favorite characters of all time, but traditionally, like the John Jones persona was a white guy. With Supergirl, they changed it, and the backstory they did for, I mean, he's Hank Henshaw, which, as we all know, becomes the evil Superman, but he kind of reclaimed the identity. It's very convoluted, but the idea of the alien, African American in the alien persona, that they've touched on a little bit in that show, but you could go way deeper with. And I just love that character. I mean, with all due respect to David Goyer, he gave some interview once where he was just like talking about these DC movies. He's like, we'll never do the Martian Manhunter. That's just stupid. And I'm like, no, man, like that's a really beautiful character. You're talking about a refugee, somebody who's just fucking stuck on this planet, just like Superman. You know, just doesn't happen to look golden like Superman. And there's some fucking story, some clever story, a better writer than I could come up with, to be told there. You know, it's one thing to come to Earth, look like Superman. Everything fucking works out for you. If you look like the Martian Manhunter, it's a lot tougher. So I would do that with the current spin that they're using in Supergirl.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Jon
much. It means a
Stewart,
lot to me
that
and
was
my
actually,
team.
that was going to be my go-to answer, Jon Stewart, but I felt that was too, like, well, they got one guy, don't they? I kind of liked going the other way. All right, that was a great question, man. You get the tickets. Da-da-da.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. All right, where are we going next, JC?
Go back.
He doesn't see you.
Cool.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
So good. What's your name?
My name's Matt.
Give it up for Match?
Matt.
Everyone give it up for Matt.
Close, though.
Hey, Matt.
I mean, I clerk, so I'll answer anything, so. So first off, kind of like this guy, I mean, I'm not going to blow you as hard, but...
Okay.
So back in March, I had a surgery, and I kept watching Fat Man on Batman while I was laid up in bed for 6 weeks. And there was something that you said about just, you know, if you don't agree with something, if you don't like content, go make your own. And that really stuck with me. And you guys really, just between the both of you, you guys really inspired me to kind of just write my own comic. And it's really just spun from the Arrowverse and Slade Wilson, because I really love Manu Bennett's interpretation of Deathstroke. And it's just something for me that I want to see. I don't care if it gets picked up or anything like that. I have a couple friends who are like, this sounds awesome. I want to draw for it. And so thank you, because that's awesome.
Fucking
It's
A,
given me
good for
something
you,
to really
man.
do. So thank you.
That's really cool.
Maybe. And then the question that I have for you is in the same vein of the Arrowverse. Let's say Berlanti called you up and was like, hey, next year, we want you to do the 4-part crossover. What's the story you do between the both of you? Because I think both of you guys would be fantastic. And would it be Rock of Ages? And if so, how do you get around the dark side of it all?
Oh, my God. Yeah, that would, of course, if they gave me any carte blanche, I would try to do Rock of Ages, but you couldn't really do it without the real Justice League. It would be so compromised. I would go for, I mean, you can't do the real Crisis on Infinite Earths, but they do have a multiverse in that show. Like Supergirl exists in a different universe than Flash and Arrow. So you could, the worlds are colliding, you know, like the multiverse story, the classic Crisis on Infinite Earths multiverse story. That would cover a week of programming and stuff. I would go for that. You?
Fuck.
It's like, of everything, that's the one that's taken a lot out of you. You're like, fuck.
I would kill Oliver Queen. I would make it the death of Oliver Queen.
That's two monsters.
Established, sir. Asked and answered, counselor. Move on. I think that Arrow is probably starting to run its course, and there is a world in which in a year, 2 years, maybe, you come to the end of Arrow. If you're going to do that, then fucking do it. And if you're going to do it and make it count, make it big, make it real, and make the death of Oliver Queen your 4-part crossover. Like what happens, who did it, how they find out who did it, the fallout from it, all of that.
What happens, though, after that? Does Arrow keep going, or does the show end?
Maybe that's your giant season finale as opposed to sweeps event, where you do 4 episodes that ends the season, and it ends with the death of Oliver Queen.
You took us down, man.
Hey.
Good answer, man. He wins the tickets. Give him the tickets. Well done. All right, man. Where are we going next, JC?
Hi there.
Hey.
This question would have been more relevant probably like 3 years ago. A very prominent director, I can't remember who said it, but said superhero movies will go the way of the Western. Considering everything has a bell
Wasn't
curve.
that Lucas or Spielberg, I think?
I want to say Spielberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I was right. So anyway.
From the director of Ready Player One. What a difference 3 years makes.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But what is the question?
Do you think superhero movies will go the way of the Western? And if so, why or why not?
I don't think so. The Western, I don't know why the Western stopped. Maybe people were just like, oh, I've seen this before. So I guess there could be a saturation point with heroics, like super heroics. But at the end of the day, that's the stuff that movies are made of. Like, there's a problem. Only this person can solve that problem. The whole world's against this person. This person has triumphed. Like, you can break that down into every movie almost. Doesn't have to be. That's almost the plot of It's a Wonderful Life as well, but it's also the plot of Batman too. So you can, those stories about people overcoming adversity and winning the day, good triumphing evil, there will never be a lack of interest in that. And the Westerns worked off of those principles as well. But, I can't imagine that at a certain point people are like, I'm done with the superhero movie. It just feels like it's kind of here to stay. For no other reason, honestly, than like morality tales have been with us since we've been talking to one another. And they're all kind of morality tales at the end of the day. With this the lesson is the same over and over again. It's better to be good than to be bad, So I don't think they're going anywhere. You?
Yeah, I think Westerns went away because they stopped being cheap. Westerns was the dominant genre for a while because all you needed was fucking dudes and hats. We had the hats, a couple of horses. We got the horses, and we got wide open fucking land, and California in the 40s and 50s was half as developed as it is now. So you can shoot a fucking Western for almost nothing. After a while, it got more expensive, and then it began like, wow, geez, we've seen like 800 Westerns. How many new Western stories are there? Not that many. We still see them because there's the fetishization of the Western, the dream of what the Westerns symbolize.
It's just a part of our cinematic heritage.
It is, and there's a little bit of a sense of the Wayback Machine lure of looking into the past and remembering when it was easier and simpler in a way. I think superhero movies right now speak to our cultural desire to be special in a way where Westerns spoke to our desire to be free in a way. And I think that as long as people want to be super, as long as people want that aspiration to live up to, we'll see superhero movies. The cost does not seem to be prohibitive because all these things cost $200 million and it doesn't matter. Will they go away? No. I think there is a decreasing number of people who decide they want to launch into a universe because that's hard work, as DC I'm sure can attest, to launch a universe whole cloth. But I think that, Marvel is not going to stop making them. Like, they have no interest in stopping to make them. It doesn't make sense to stop making them. Same way we're going to see a Star Wars movie every year for the rest of my life. Good, bad, or indifferent, we're going to see it because that's the way this industry is built. That's the engine that makes all of this drive. So while will we see 3 Marvel movies and 1 fucking DC movie and some offshoot Fox Columbia movie in the same calendar year every year? Probably not. But are we going to see a Marvel movie every year? Yeah. Will we see a DC movie every other year? We should, if they can figure it out. But like as a genre, I don't see it going the way of the Western, at least not for another 10, 15, 20, 30 years.
It's weird. We always reference the Western, but a lot of people do in reference to these flicks, but it's a bad parallel. The Western was popular because it was fucking inexpensive. These movies have never been inexpensive. Like that's just part of the gamble. Is like there's a lot of money involved. But it's they define tentpole cinema now. You spend a fuck ton of money and you can make a fuck ton of money, particularly if you're building a universe. Yeah, you're right. I think just like Star Wars and cancer, superhero movies will be with us forever.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I wish would happen is that studios would not give up the middle ground as they seem to have. Like, you have $3 million movies and you have $300 million movies, but the $40 million studio movie seems to have disappeared. What used to be the adult thriller or the romantic comedy, or it's just gone. I mean, it's Blumhouse or it's Marvel. And there's a world in which there are storytellers who don't get to tell mature stories. TV has taken over that particular zone. But I wish that Hollywood would remember that there's a variety of stories you can tell and an audience for almost everything if you make it right.
Yeah, Hollywood doesn't need to... Amen. Hollywood doesn't need to remember like Netflix does. They make one of everything.
They do.
And now they're getting into the big budget game as well.
Yeah, I mean, Bright cost them almost $100 million, and they're making another one of those.
How long do you think before they make a big move? Like, what could they? I guess there's really nothing to buy.
I mean, they bought the Mark Millar stuff.
Oh, that's right. They bought Miller World.
$200 million. They just lock, stock, and barrel. So, yeah, we're going to see comic shit on there soon enough.
Warner Brothers will never let go of DC, right? No. There's no need.
No.
And Disney will never let go of Marvel. So those two are spoken for a long time.
I think Sony bought Valiant last year, maybe, to start a Valiant verse.
Why?
For people who like Valiant.
Right on, man.
Ninjak, motherfuckers!
All right. Hey, man, you won the tickets. Give it up for him. We're out of tickets, but we can take like 3 more questions, ticketless questions. You won't win a prize, but you could start some conversation. We do have a bag. Oh, shit. Fuck me. You will win a prize.
Yes! I do it for free, though.
Go ahead. What's your name?
Alfonso.
Give it up for Alfonso. Take us there, sir. What do you want to know?
All right. First and foremost, all your movies relate to me in such a way. It's just, thank you so much for speaking my voice. Sorry.
Swallow
Clerks.
the mic, man. I hear that every fucking week, dude. Swallow the fucking mic.
Clerks, I've been in retail my whole life. Mallrats, always been a comic book geek. I'm part of this nerd world order, hands down. Chasing Amy, I mean, I love lesbians. Jersey Girl, I've been a single father, and I've overcome so much with that, and my kids are in a really good place because of it. But my questions, enough stroking it, but my question, first of all, we're going to start with Marc because we always start with Kevin. I love you to death, Kevin, but I want to start with Marc because you're amazing. Okay, I've listened to every single episode of Fat Man and Batman. The one thing I've never heard is, what is your favorite Kevin Smith movie? And then my second part of that, of course, I want to include Kevin here. Have you read any of his reviews of your movies? And what did you think?
To the best of my knowledge, I've never reviewed one of your movies.
I don't think you have, because it would have come up by now.
Well, here it comes.
We've been talking about something, and I would have been like, "Oh, Marc, is it slow moving and thought provoking?"
Do you wish I moved the camera more in this conversation? In my favorite, I have yet to hold forth on what my favorite Kevin Smith movie is. It's a little bit like choosing your favorite grandchild.
Do you see yourself as the grandchildren father of my movies?
In the or the favorite nephew, in a way. It's like, all right, he's my friend. His movies are his children, and I'm like the honorary uncle.
Oh, right. It would be like picking or the analogy is like, if the movies are my kids, If I had more than one kid, like I got one kid, I got Harley, so it's easier for him to be like, oh, I like his kid. But if I had 3 kids, I was like, which one do you like the most? That'd be weird. That'd be weird on a lot of levels.
That'd be real level.
Which one do you want the most? Because I'll sell it to you.
Dogma is my favorite.
Yeah. I like that movie too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Dogma is about a lot more than it seems to be about. In a way, Dogma is incisive into religion in a way that most movies about religion aren't. And there's a giant fucking shit monster in the middle of it. It is the most, maybe not counting Strike Back, but the most genre movie I think that he's made.
Yeah.
And so I dig it real hard. I think Chasing Amy is also fantastic, incredibly well done. But my heart belongs to Metatron.
Well, we just passed the anniversary, I guess was on, Sunday? Alan Rickman passed away 2 years ago already. He's been gone for 2 years, man. Such an amazing fucking talent and such, like, the glue in pop culture for his entire acting career. Once he started acting, that was it. He was everywhere. And like, when I put up a picture on Twitter the other day, somebody, like, people were dropping lines from Dogma. Of course, they were dropping lines more naturally from all the Harry Potter movies, from Die Hard. But somebody rocked me with a Quigley Down Under reference.
Wow.
That made me go watch Quigley Down Under again, because I was like, fuck, Rickman was in that.
Tom Selleck.
And it would have been a movie like I discounted my whole life, because I'm like, Tom Selleck, fucking Quigley Down Under. But it's got Rickman in it. It's fucking good. It's a fairly watchable movie, man.
Was he
that
like
Tom Selleck, my mom's right. He is sexy.
Almost
got to be the mustache.
Almost Indiana Jones.
I would remember that, yeah.
But for a scheduling hiccup, he would have been your Indiana Jones.
He was the first choice.
Yeah.
And then they were like, who's your second choice? They're like, I don't know, Han Solo?
Yeah, the Carpenter.
Great question. You went ahead. This is from Encore Visual Effects, the people that make the special effects for Supergirl, for Flash. Armin, who was on Fat Man on Batman recently, it's a great listen. Armin Kevorkian, we talked about the special effects and stuff. He brought over a bag of hats and whatnot. This is one that's got, from last season, the crossover, Justice Society of America. There you go, my friend. Well done. Yeah, oh my God, happy. All right, JC, where are we going next?
Oh, thank you. To turn an answer into a question, if Del Toro had made his version of The Hobbit, based on Shape of Water, would the dragon have been fuckable?
I think you've hit on the most interesting version of Smaug we could have seen.
Smaug likes it like that.
He's like, this is my treasure.
There is gold on my entire body except for these spots.
That definitely wins a fucking something. But do you have a question?
If
or did
I
you
may,
just want to own the room like you did?
With the return of the anthology series, is there room for like an Astro City type show with
What a good fucking call. I'm not in charge of the business, but I say yes. But Astro City is a good fucking poll. Did you used to read Astro City?
I read a handful of it. I wasn't a devotee of it, but from what I read, I loved.
It was Kurt Busiek, right? Busiek, the guy that did Marvels.
Yeah.
He wrote that book. He did Avengers as well, but he was the one that created Astro City. Yeah, I would totally watch that show. I imagine it's pricey, right? Because you're talking about a lot of superpowers and stuff. Very true. The moment they put me in charge of something where I get to make decisions like that, I'm going to be like Astro City. But for now,
all our idea.
Yeah.
TARDIS guy was not here for this.
But does that answer the question?
Yes.
But I mean, you could have stopped at not the question. It was so awesome. Give it up for him. All right, where are we going to?
Hi, my name's Alina.
Hi.
And hey, I just want to say a quick shout out to all the girls in the room because there's very few of us, I've noticed. So shout out to us. I don't know if anybody else has noticed.
How many? Wait a second. Well, that was a bunch of dudes that applauded.
Yeah.
So let's.
Yeah.
Let the ladies shout it out.
Just hearing the ladies, put your hands together. How many?
Woo! Not as many.
Yeah.
But not that bad, though.
It's not 50-50, but it's not bad.
Yeah, and so I'm actually going to forfeit my question because my question wasn't as good as his question. So I'm going to hand it over to him.
Oh my God, we just saw the generous feminine spirit at work, man. She's like, I want to say something. Here's a microphone for a man. What was your question? You know what? You ask it, and then we'll let him ask his question. Go ahead.
So I'm a huge fan of women, obviously, and superhero movies. So my question is, besides the generic like Black Widow or whomever, who would you guys see? Who would you want to see in the next, Marvel or DC movie?
Zatanna. Yeah. But not like the fucking fishnets. Like the idea of a woman magician who comes from like a powerful father who died tragically trying to save the world and stuff like that. She incorporates well into Gotham City. She knows fucking Bruce Wayne and Batman. But you get to tell, the mystical side of things. Has DC, I mean, Marvel's got, their Sorcerer Supreme, and they've already kind of touched on that world. It would be interesting to see DC head in that direction. It looked like she was going to be involved in Justice League Dark, right? The one that Del Toro was going to make had Swamp Thing in it, and John Constantine, and Deadman, and
the Demon,
and who?
The Demon,
and the Demon Etrigan, and I think Zatanna was supposed to be in it as well. But I think you could do a total standalone Zatanna movie. What about you?
I think I would like to see a Death at the High Cost of Living.
Oh yeah, fuck yes, God yes. God, why haven't they done that yet?
I mean, I think the Sandman stuff is still wrapped up in where the fuck it's wrapped up in. I'm not entirely sure.
That was so good.
But yeah, I mean, Death is a phenomenal character. Neil Gaiman's version of Death is fantastic. I would also like to see She-Hulk.
Yeah.
I think you could have a lot of fun with the She-Hulk movie. I think that like Law meets Bruiser meets fucking it's a comedy waiting to happen with giant things smashing.
All right, now we go to the dude.
All right,
Thank you.
now that the pressure's on, man. That was a
Don't
good
ever
question.
give up your voice for a man. Anyway, over to you. What do you want to know?
Hey, my name is Ishmael. So it's kind of weird. He had said the same thing. Oh, wait. He has kind of said the same thing that I was about to say to you. Quirks inspired me, same gist, but I had met you about 3 years ago, and you had asked me like what I was doing in my life, and I was like, I'm just working like retail, and it really made me question like I'm kind of doing dead end in retail. You asked me like, was it fun? I was like, no, I hate it, like whatever. So like since that point, since like 3 years later, I've gotten a bachelor's in film at a UC. So you've inspired. Like, thank you for inspiring me to like keep going,
man.
Because I was just like I hated it, and yeah. And thank you.
I'm always scared when somebody gets up and tells stories like that. Like years ago, I met you, and I'm waiting for it to be like in a bathroom, and then you tapped under my stall. But this worked out.
No, yeah. And then I also want to thank both of you. Since you guys done this podcast, I love it every day. I listen to it every day. My new job. I've started my own podcast, and it's been the most fun I've had.
What's it called? Put the name out there.
It's called What's Expected. It's on iTunes podcast. It's on all of it.
Right,
so
right.
if you guys want to listen to it. Also, real quick, I want to thank Marc for calling out billboards on your Twitter. I like that. You were one of the few writers who did call that shit out. Thank you.
It is a troublesome movie.
It is. And
3 billboards in Ebbing, Missouri.
Did you talk about it on Twitter or something?
I went on the Twitters, and then The Guardian in the UK asked me to write a piece about basically the Twitter rant. The idea that Sam Rockwell is a phenomenal actor, by all means. The movie is populated with phenomenal actors. But there is a level of disingenuousness with which that movie treats rural America in regards to race. And the fact that it was written and directed by a member of the British kingdom of some fashion, perhaps. I want to say he's Irish, could be Scottish. Sorry, I'm fucking it up, Martin McDonough. I don't mean to. But he is by any lights an outsider and does not understand the textures of how race works in America. Mm-hmm. And he was unwilling to interrogate his own view of a particular character, Sam Rockwell's character, who's introduced to us as a racist cop who enjoys torturing black men in his care.
Yeah, it's weird, and it's in a movie that the movie's full of fucking wonderful performances.
Yeah,
but it's in a movie that like has a quirkiness to it, and that is introduced early on, and you're like, well, that must. They're going to investigate that, and it's going to pay off later on, and
it doesn't really.
No, not at all. It's just going to drop.
And it to the point where the movie builds for this character a redemption arc, ultimately, that the movie doesn't make us believe is earned in any way. I don't want that dude to be a hero because he's never in any way accounted for and expressed any sort of desire for forgiveness for his actions.
Right.
And so just watching the swirling golden globiness around this movie and, hey, it's amazing, it's awesome, and there was a sense that the foreign press, the Hollywood foreign press, made up of like 30 guys who don't live here, had a checklist. I understand what Trump's America is like because I saw 3 billboards. I understand what the middle of America feels like because I saw this movie. And I understand the race issues in America because I saw this movie. A movie which does not in any way really deal with any of those issues.
Right.
The performances are great. Like, Sam Rockwell deserves it. Like, he did a great job. Frances McDormand is always great. But the movie itself is a little problematic for me.
You wrote for The Guardian?
I know. Weird, right?
That's that's legit, man. Marc has written, as we all know, for a lot of publications, EW, Hollywood Reporter, Playboy, LA Times. I'm sure there's others I'm forgetting, but The Guardian is that's like where news is born.
And it's with an accent too.
Yeah,
which made it kind of cool.
Classy.
It sounds smarter than it is.
That's cool. That's very cool. But wait, did you ask? You didn't ask.
No, I just want to thank you. You're one of the few writers who would say that. Anyway, so in a time that we have like a superhero movie every week, every month. Do you think that even though we have Marvel and DC competing like literally every week, and Marvel's kind of winning, they can collide and do Marvel versus DC finally in a movie? And if so, how would you guys write it?
I do. I think I gotta say we're within 10 years of seeing a Marvel versus DC. Marvel doesn't need it right now. Obviously, they're doing fine, but at the same time, I don't know. Well, it all depends on how interesting they could keep this story they're telling going in the Marvel universe, cinematic universe, after the next Avengers, the 2 Avengers movies. They keep promising this is going to change the landscape altogether. Does it change the landscape to the point where people start reacting like people have reacted with Last Jedi, with this ain't my fucking Star Wars, and turn their back on it? Maybe the numbers drop a little bit. At that point, you want to get people interested again? Hey, man, let's call Warner Brothers and help these fools out. So I could see it happening, but right now they really don't need it. So it won't happen for probably at least like a decade. Your thoughts?
I think it requires a giant fucking filmmaker to want that to happen, in the same way that it required Robert Zemeckis to want to make Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which bridged the gap between Disney and Warner Brothers in a very real way, so that you could have fucking Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse on screen at the same time, which was previously impossible to be done.
Yeah.
And the contractual fucking intricacies of how that movie worked are ridiculous. All right, so Daffy Duck and Donald Duck are going to be playing piano together. So Daffy enters the scene first, so Donald gets to enter the scene last. They both need the same number of lines, and they both need the same number of shots, because no character can be seen to be more important than the other.
All ducks are created equal.
Except
Howard.
I think if JJ decides that he's got a superhero story he wants to tell and goes to Disney and Marvel and say, hey, listen, here's the story that I want to do with Batman versus Captain America, or here's the Marvel versus DC story that I want, then maybe that kind of happens in 10 years, but without some giant irresistible force behind it. I think that the fiefdoms will play well enough alone as opposed to together.
I think you're right, though. I hadn't factored that in. Star power could force the issue. But I don't know if there's a filmmaker that's powerful enough to do that. But a massive movie star. Who's the biggest fucking star in the world? Tough as get. Somebody who would never do a fucking Marvel movie.
I mean, God.
That also matters at the box office. Brad Pitt. If Meryl Streep.
Sue Storm.
She'd be a great get, man, but still. But like somebody who matters at the box office, let's say a Brad Pitt for argument's sake. If Brad Pitt was like, I want to do one of these movies, but I only want to do it if I can cross over the two companies. Yeah, then you're right. Man.
Maybe.
There's money to be made there.
Brad Pitt goes to Spielberg and says, here's how I want to do this.
Spielberg. That's the name that would do it. If Spielberg walked in and was just like, let me show you guys how to fuck. I need 2 studios. Yeah, he can make it. I mean, he's kind of making it happen a little bit. There's a lot of IP crossover in Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like him going, oh, I'm going to do my modern day version of Roger Rabbit.
You know who could get it done? Lego could get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Ooh,
You know,
good pull.
Like, I think the licenses that they have could probably make it so that those characters could appear on screen at the same time in a way that does not violate any currently existing neutrality agreements or whatever. Yeah, I think that could work if they wanted it.
Would it be? Well, I mean, look, that so far both Lego movies that I saw the Lego movie and the Batman Lego movie, were absolutely enjoyable. One is like fucking brilliant. But if they crossed over Marvel and DC characters in a Lego movie, would you care? Would that make you go?
Not especially.
Right.
But if the box we're checking is Marvel versus DC, you could get that done.
Yeah, good point. Could you imagine that? It's just like, you're getting Marvel versus DC. Everyone's like, yeah. They're like, it's the Lego version. Like, you fucking jerks. 10 more years. 10 more years. All right, man. That was a great question. You get a shirt. Bang. We'll go here and then we'll go home. Come on, JC. Bring us home.
Make it a good one. No pressure.
What's up, gentlemen?
How are you?
Hey.
Hey.
So, Wizard was a wonderful magazine.
Wizard, the comic magazine.
Was a wonderful magazine. They had a segment that I believe we all loved. Who would you cast?
Yes.
Justice League, some say fell short. Some say was awesome. We got to come up with the next Justice League movie. Who do you cast as Darkseid?
As Darkseid?
Who do you cast as his minions?
As Darkseid, I don't go the CG route. Like, I find a way, but then again, I also don't want to go the.
You don't want to look
Oscar
like Rick from Pawn
Isaacs,
Stars?
But I don't want him to look like Oscar Isaac's Apocalypse, which, was a dude. He looked like a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers villain more than anything else. So I guess you might have to go with some CG or something like that. But he ain't going to be a cartoon with a voice to it. Should be an actor underneath. Like, looks like that's what they did with what's-his-face and Thanos and what's his name?
Josh Brolin.
Yeah, Josh Brolin. You could kind of see him in there, it looks like. So, all right, if you were doing something like that, who would be Darkseid? Not in my version. Let me try to think. Who would it be?
Take that motherfucking shirt back. Who said that?
The only one I hear is who is the voice of Lex Luthor in the Justice League cartoons? Clancy Brown, man. But Clancy Brown just played the bad guy in Thor, right? Not Scourge. What was his name? No, the one in the beginning, the big guy with the big helmet. Whatever the fuck. That was his voice. He has like the voice. I guess anybody could be put through a filter, but I don't know. I've always liked him as an actor. I would cast that guy. And in a world where you can kind of just like build Darkseid on top of him, Clancy Brown for me. What about you?
I'm thinking of. Did you ever watch Spartacus?
No.
You should have watched Spartacus. It's really.
You mean the one with Kirk Douglas?
Yes.
You want to cast Kirk Douglas?
I totally do.
I just saw him on the red carpet.
There's a dude who played the trainer. I want to say in the first season. The actor's name is Peter Mensah.
Mm-hmm.
Big, muscular black dude with this crazy fucking baritone voice. Like much like Clancy Brown. Like, just deliver that voice. But also, I think you have to do a little bit less if you get a black dude than a white dude to just shade it in there. But no, he's a great actor with an amazing presence and a good voice. So yeah, that dude thinks I made the right choice.
Right on, man. You get a hat for that. All good. Holy shit. We're out of questions. We're out of shit to give away. We're out of time. You've enjoyed yourselves, ladies and gentlemen? It's going to be a minute before it happens again. I go up to Sundance this week, and then from Sundance I go to Flash. So I'll be back and done with Flash February 15th. So that the soonest we'll have the next show will probably be somewhere in that corridor. But know that wherever I'm in this world, I will be thinking about how much I'd rather be here doing this show. Because I'm no joke. I love doing this show. I wish we could do it 5 days a week. But as soon as we can get back together again, we'll do it right here at the Scum and Villainy Cantina. Thank you for everyone who asked questions tonight. Thank you for the really sweet things people have said. But thanks for being here, man. This is I was going to say it's the easiest job in the world, but it's not even a fucking job. This is something I look forward to every week. Thanks for building something for me to come playing, man. By being here every week, it's fun. We get to sit around, geek out, chit-chat. It's low-key, structureless. I really, really dig it. So as soon as I'm back from Flash, we'll do absolutely more of this. Give it up for the guy without whom I can't do it, Mr. Marc Bernardin. And that is Fat Man on Batman for this week. I'm Kevin Smith.
And I'm Marc Bernardin.
Tune in next time. Same fat time, same fat channel. Smodcast.com or
YouTube.com/Kevin Smith.
Good night, everybody.